All right, we're live. So this is the first Thursday of the month and the first day of the month. So we do the question and answer the first week of the month. And I've gotten lots of great questions already from Elliot tonight, but none of them about meditation yet, right? Only tangentially related. So your question does not have to be like exactly, how do I meditate, sir? I mean, it can be related to meditation. It can be something about an experience that you've had. It can be like, talk about forgiveness or whatever else. But don't ask me about roundhouse kicks, something that is about internal practice. If you guys have questions and you are on Instagram, you can type them to us. And if you have questions on Zoom, you can, boy, I think you better type it as well for now, just so you get my attention, because I can hardly see you guys up in that top row. Let me see. Wait, I think I can see you if I click out of this. Great. Just raise your hand, your digital hand, if you guys are on Zoom, and then I should be able to see that too. The standard disclaimer, these are not the answers. These are just my best answers that I have for you tonight. I don't think anything I'm going to say is written in stone anywhere. This is not scripture. This is not gospel. This is just, according to Sifu, what I've got for you tonight. And I promise if you ask me the same question 10 years from now, that I'll have a better answer for you. You should also be asking different questions 10 years from now, though. If you have the same questions, that means you haven't really been figuring stuff out. So, questions about anything, and they'll start with whoever's hand I see first. It's Sam.
Meditation is starting to lose its wow factor. So that idea of, like, I meditate, but now it feels more robotic, which is the idea of what intention I have behind my meditation or what I'm trying to get out of it. So it's kind of just getting muddled. So how do I regain that factor of, like, this is making a change in my life? It just feels I'm just doing it just to do it.
This is a great question, a super common experience that I have had, and I think everybody who meditates has. And you've probably had a similar experience with something in your life, if not with meditation. You've got something that you start off, you're gun-ho about it, you're like, this is going to be the thing that changes my life, and it probably has. And maybe you've had other things too that have also changed your life, and it's like, well, then it happened, it changed your life. And you're like, well, now it's kind of boring because I'm used to it. My Sifu likes to say, or asks us this question, did you ever try something that worked so well that you stopped doing it? And meditation is a good example of that for some people. You meditate, it changed your life. You're like, now I'm calmer, now I have more awareness of my thoughts and my environment, and I'm happier, but the meditation itself just seems like mundane. It seems like the same thing over and over again. So I stopped doing that. And then you might be surprised, if you stop meditating, how quickly you start to miss it. So I've had experiences. I haven't technically stopped meditating since I started, but I've had stretches of time where my meditation was very quick and like just a superficial thing, like just so that I could say to myself and to other people that I haven't skipped a day of meditation. And I'd go like 3-4 days with just crappy 5-minute meditation where I wasn't really paying attention. And I started to recognize, like, my brain is a mess now. I'm starting to, lose that calm that I had. So one thing that I do not recommend you do is if you just stop meditating for a while or just stop trying and just have really bad short meditations, you will start to have the experience that meditation is not really helping because you're not doing it. And two, like, I really miss it, I need it. And you don't have to stop meditating to kind of get your mojo back with it and to start to get inspired again. I do like to say that in general, for anything that we have to have inspiration and motivation for, that's a problem, because motivation goes like this. You will definitely have days or weeks or months or even years where you just don't feel motivated to meditate or to practice or to eat your vegetables or whatever it is. So you want to take motivation out of the equation if you can. Now, that is kind of one side of the coin, or one philosophy around this, which is you don't need to be accomplishing anything. You don't need to even feel good about your meditation. Just showing up and doing it, literally just sitting, is it. That's like the whole point of this book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. He says this so many different ways, and I'm sure it's because he also, as a meditation teacher, gets this question all the time. Like, what am I supposed to be accomplishing? Or what do I do if I'm not feeling it? And it's literally just do the work, show up, just sit, and that's it. And you can and should allow yourself to feel really good about just sitting, even if it doesn't really feel like you're getting anything out of your meditation. The fact that I've done it, that I have the discipline to do it. So for me personally, I did not have any real discipline until I started meditating. This is the first real thing that I did every day, that I set out to do. I was like, I'm going to do this every day. I did it for a year, and at the end of the year, I thought, this is amazing. I can do this. That means that I can do anything. Now, let's say that you really do want and or need motivation, inspiration. You're feeling like my meditation has lost it and I got to get it back. So there are a couple of things that you can do for yourself. One thing is to maybe slightly change the way that you're meditating without completely changing it. So there are, first of all, thousands of styles of meditation. Probably the most common, or among the most common for sure, is the one that we do where you're just sitting and breathing, watching your breath. Just a simple Zazen meditation. And you don't need to completely do something different. What you could do is maybe slightly change the way that you're focusing on the breath. For example, instead of focusing on the way that your breath feels in your belly, you can feel the breath in different parts of your body. You can feel the breath as it enters and leaves your nose. You can feel the breath as it goes through your throat. And that changes things just enough to make it a little bit more interesting, to have to be a little bit more focused because you're focusing on a different thing. You can also feel the breath, and this might sound kind of weird, but you can feel the breath in your toes. You can feel the breath in your hands. When you are breathing, you can feel like a subtle vibration or a subtle sensation in different parts of your body that kind of shifts along with the breath. And you don't need to be looking for anything in particular. If you try to make a very specific choice with this might kind of mess you up, but literally just focus on the feeling of your feet when you're breathing and feel how that sensation has like a subtle shift with the inhale and the exhale. And then when you're done focusing on your feet, focus on your legs, focus on your hands, focus on different parts of your body. You can do it like a body scan and making sure that your body's relaxed. But this is an interesting way to slightly shift what you're doing while still really maintaining your focus on the breath and not completely giving up. Some people, they have learned quite a few distinct forms of meditation, and what will happen in that case is you'll sit and you'll start to get bored with this kind of meditation. You're like, oh, I'm having a hard time focusing. I'm going to do this other technique. And so now I start to, say a mantra in my mind. And I get bored of that. So then I'll start to visualize something as I'm meditating. And you're only spending like a couple minutes on each technique. And so you never really get a chance to really kind of dive deep and get really focused with it. So I'm still going to suggest that you try to stick with one thing throughout the meditation, and the more often you practice and the longer you practice any one technique, the better you will get at it, and therefore the more impact it should have. And there will be times where it's still like this. So be okay with that. What you don't want to do is just stop meditating completely, because then you will start to become the same awful person that you were before meditation. This is a super common experience. If you guys have this, if you haven't had it yet and you get it in the future, great, you can thank Sam for getting you ready for it. But anything that you do that is, especially something that is by design very boring like meditation, will have that. You will have ups and downs, and I think it's important and useful to remind yourself that is part of it, and that is actually part of what you're seeking in your practice, is those lulls, those dips in motivation where you can then kind of just use your practice and use your discipline to get through that rather than allowing yourself to give up. Other questions? You guys can ask questions too, even if you think that it's a dumb question that other people have asked. You got one? Elliot, you just playing with your pants.
Yeah, like say when you're meditating and your mind is just constantly let's say you come home after a hard day and your mind is just severely fixated on just that thing that just got you really down. And you just attempt to just meditate, but you try to desperately like evade that thought when you're meditating.
Yeah.
Like how can you find just like say inner peace whilst having that thought in your head while you're meditating?
Great question. Also common experience. And a lot of people have that experience the first couple of times that they meditate and they just stop meditating because they feel, probably rightly so, like this negative experience that I had or this negative thought that I have is amplified during meditation. And until you really practice to get the ability to let go of the thought and have it not come right back repetitively through meditation, until you get that ability, it can certainly happen this way, and this might be even your most common experience, where you're feeling like this negative thing that happened to me today is I'm just sitting here and ruminating on it, and I'm just replaying it over and over in my brain, and this is not a pleasant experience. Meditation is supposed to be relaxing, and it's stressful. So again, I think that it's important to remind ourselves that this is part of meditation, is the recurring thought and the practice to let it go. Now, when you practice letting it go, depending on how completely you let it go, it might come right back. It might take a couple minutes to come back. Maybe your mind wanders to something else, and then it wanders back to this thing. Maybe you really do actually successfully let go of that thought, and it doesn't come back until your meditation is done. Now, this is one of the purposes of meditation, one of many, is that these things that happen to us during the day that might rightfully deserve our attention, when we get stuck in this loop where we're just replaying the same thing over and over again, or we're replaying like, this is what I should have said, or whatever it is. Fear about what's going to happen the next time I have to deal with this person. All that stuff. If we just get stuck in our loops that we're replaying over and over again, you may have recognized this. The same thing replaying in your head gets you nowhere. You're stuck, and what we're actually doing is reinforcing the same thought. Now, I'm not trying to stress you out about this, but the more you have that thought, the more likely the thought is going to come back. You're strengthening the connection in your mind to that thought, making it more likely to come. Now, I don't tell you that to stress you out or to make you think like, oh, I got to freak out when I meditate now. It's simply the way that our brains work. The more you practice any thought, the more likely it is to come back. And that's why meditation works, because the more you practice focusing on your breath, the more likely you are to return to the breath. The more you practice letting go of a thought, the more likely you are to be able to let go of the thought. And it very well might be that your experience of meditation, especially early on, is almost like a fight between these thoughts and me trying to let go of them, where it feels like you're fighting against it, right? Now, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this in the past. You don't really want meditation to feel like a fight. You don't want it to feel like friction really of any kind, if possible. You want to be able to feel like I'm just letting it go and it's just that easy. It's like when my child, who's almost 1 year old, I give her a thing to hold in this hand. She now can use two hands, but for a long time she couldn't. She could only use one hand. So I go to hand her something else, and she lets go of this and goes and grabs this thing. And she's not thinking about the first thing at all. The first thing does not exist for her, right? She had like a rattler in this hand, and then I go to hand her like a block, and she lets go of the rattler, and she's holding the block, and the block is the only thing that exists for her. On some level, our meditation is kind of like attempting to get back to that almost like infantile ability to let go and just like that thing doesn't exist for us anymore. She's now a little bit more sophisticated because she can hold on to this thing and then grab the other thing with her. And then she's like back and forth, like, I'm confused, I don't know what to pay attention to. And what she started doing recently is I give her a piece of food, she's chewing on it, and then she sees the next thing that's like sitting there on the table, and she spits out the thing that's in her mouth to get to the next thing. So now I have to hide the other food from her so she doesn't do that anymore. But you get the idea. You want to be able to let go and not come back to that thing. It takes practice. And the very nature of meditation is kind of like I'm practicing that. So it can kind of take the pressure off and allow you to be more calm and resilient in your meditation when you do remind yourself that the recurring thought or that mind weed is serving a purpose, a very important purpose. It's serving the purpose of allowing me to practice this. A good way that will also kind of help you to stay relaxed in the face of this is like a relaxed sigh, which is not, this is what a lot of people do when they sigh. You're meditating and you're like, I'm trying to relax. I'm not relaxed. I keep having this thought. It's more like, and it's like I'm coming home from a long trip away and I'm just relaxing back into this moment. If you are exhaling too loudly during meditation, you're going to mess with other people, but you can do that on your own and actually allow yourself to feel like this is a good thing, that I'm recognizing the thought and I'm refocusing on the breath. If you have your meditation turn into friction, I'm beating myself up for having this thought, then the thought will persist even more. The saying is, what we resist persists. The harder we fight against it, the more we feel it and the more that it kind of stays there present. It's like a brick wall that we're like running into. The more you run into it, the worse it gets. But if you just like zip right around it like the wall's not even there, then you've got something. You're going to get past it. So our experience in meditation might be like, I've been running into this brick wall over and over again. What I need to do is just relax and just into this next breath. Because in this moment, in this breath, that thought doesn't exist. The thing that you're thinking about doesn't exist. The recurring thoughts, the anxiety about what's going to happen, the next time you have to deal with that, all of that becomes very clearly an illusion, and the only thing that actually exists in this moment is this breath. And we want that breath to feel really nice. So if it is a relaxing, enjoyable experience to come back to the breath, we're using that positive reinforcement rather than the negative reinforcement of fighting against the thought. Positive reinforcement for ourselves of returning to the breath with a nice, enjoyable experience, and try to have it be mentally and physically relaxing and enjoyable to return to the breath. That will probably work to some degree. It's not a guarantee, it's not a silver bullet, but it works really well for most people. Now, other ideas, kind of back to Sam's question when I was talking about other things that you could focus on. If you do have a thought that is really tough to let go of today, I mean, you're riled up and you are super attached to it, and it's like really sticking somewhere deep inside you in a way that's very difficult to just let go, then you can try focusing again on something that is a little bit more interesting than just the breath. So focusing on a different part of your body, kind of doing a body scan, or counting the breaths, or what I like to do is just count to 10 as I inhale, and then count to 10 as I exhale. And don't get me wrong, that's not technically meditation, that's more like a breathing exercise, but you can kind of go into a breathing exercise, have it be something that you're really having to focus on a little bit more, which will then take your attention away from the other thing, focus it on the breath, and then when you're focusing on the breath and counting, that should be enough to kind of keep your mind focused a little bit better. So you can try that too. Don't overuse it. I got some hands raised at home. Let's start off with Deborah. Go ahead.
Tanya was first.
That's okay. I'm saving her question for last because I know it's going to be great. But your question, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. And then mine begins. I love this one.
So good.
It says in your big mind, everything has the same value. Everything is Buddha himself. You see something or hear a sound, and there you have everything just as it is. In your practice, you should accept everything as it is. How can you accept everything as it is in life?
Well, I love this question. And what Shunryu Suzuki is referring to is kind of a similar idea to, like, how can I let go of this need to fight against the thought? Or it might not even be something as angry and dramatic as what we were just talking about. It could literally just be, I hear this sound or I feel this sensation in my body. And as he says, that is all like when we are in our big mind, when we are kind of connected to our larger self in that meditation, these things that might on the face be a distraction is something that we can just kind of invite into our experience of that meditation and accept it. And so my first answer to your question is, Deborah, is when we practice doing that in meditation, then it will start to become easier to do in everyday life. And when we practice doing the opposite, if we're sitting and meditating, we practice getting upset, or we practice getting attached, or we practice fighting against these distractions, then the same thing will happen in everyday life too. So that's one thing. Try to practice the acceptance, and that's distinct from I am listening for distractions and trying to get distracted. It's like I'm listening for my breath, and then when something else shows up, I accept it in as part of my, my sensory experience, just like it's part of my breath. And with that acceptance, again, it just kind of naturally dissipates. It stays as long as it needs to, and then it goes. And you can do the same thing with the thought, by the way. As you can just accept it in as a part of your experience of meditation, and then just allow it to go whenever it's ready to go. So, outside of meditation, and you are dealing with things that might be a little bit more important to let go of, or important to deal with, acceptance is not... So first, the concept of acceptance, because I think a lot of people think of acceptance like this is the way that it's always going to be, and I'm not going to do anything about it. That's not what acceptance is. Acceptance is, this is the way that things are now. And if I refuse to accept that, then I'm not going to be able to deal with it. Meditation doesn't have to necessarily be like radical acceptance, but we can practice that in life too. It's like everything that's happening right now is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. And whether you want to accept that or not, it is true. There is no other way that anything was ever going to go in your life, in my opinion. And since I'm the one talking, you have to just accept my opinion as fact right now. So I don't think that it's very helpful to think of it like, oh, if only I had said this other thing, or if only I had done this other thing, or made this other choice. It's impossible. This is the only way that it was ever going to be. And so when we accept that, and then we feel like very solid and stable in our reality right now, then that allows us to move forward in whatever direction we want to. So I think it's important to have this idea, this understanding of what acceptance really is. It is me feeling very confident and okay with exactly the way that things are right now. And then from that, like we practice in Tai Chi, like I'm solid, I'm rooted. I feel very stable in this acceptance. Then we can choose to go off in whatever direction. So to practice that acceptance, it can be as simple as, in meditation, I'm kind of accepting that thought and letting it become part of this meditation today. It can be the same thing outside of meditation. This thing that happens, I accept it as a necessary part of reality because it was never going to be any other way. I don't look at that being that thing that's happening and think, oh, I really wish it was something else, or this shouldn't be like this. I just accept this is what it is, right? A thing that I'm sure that Sam's practiced and other actors that we have in the dojo, if you've ever taken like an improv class, yes and. So if something happens and you say, no, but that kills the scene, it kills your ability to be creative and to flow with it. If you say yes and, that allows you to flow with whatever's happening. And part of the idea with yes and is things can get crazier and crazier. And that is exactly how life goes. Things will very often get crazier and crazier. And when we practice accepting and then kind of like, how can I use that? Then that really allows us to do what we're trying to do in practice all the time, to relax and to flow. Tai Chi is kind of a practice of acceptance, right? You might very well want to be able to get lower in snake creeps down, so someday I'm completely out of frame in this thing. But I'm not today. So I do whatever I can today, and then I say, that's where I am, yes, and I'm going to practice a little bit more and see if I can be even lower tomorrow. And to kind of have that experience during meditation or during Tai Chi in these times that we have set aside to really be focused and present and calm and relaxed and to just flow with the moment, I think is really useful. So keep meditating, keep practicing Tai Chi, and then look for opportunities outside of those things as well to just practice accepting this is what it is. And that doesn't mean that is the way that it always needs to be. It means that this is the way that it is today. Yes, and. I got a question online. Acceptance is more of acknowledging the current state. Yeah, exactly. Lazaro official, very good. So acceptance is an acknowledgement of the current state, but from this we can reflect and react, yeah. And I like to use the word respond instead of react, like my Sifu says all the time, and therefore I say all the time because I'm always quoting him. We want to learn to be masters of our actions rather than prisoners of our reactions. And if we are prisoners of our reactions, oftentimes that's because we are not really accepting what's going on, and we are like, I gotta react right now, versus I literally just take one breath. And with that modicum of time, space, of sanity, then I'm able to respond in a way that I'm going to like the results a little bit better and maybe feel a little bit more proud of later on. You have something that piggybacks off of this or something different?
Yeah, prisoners of your reaction, that also has to do with, like, let's say anger, right? Mm-hmm. Let anger overtake you. You basically just succumb to it and you become just a prisoner of those instant reactions.
Exactly. So anger and all emotions serve a purpose. Mm-hmm. If we try to fight against our emotions, that's probably going to go even worse than trying to fight against your thoughts in meditation. It's going to persist, especially if you're trying to fight against your anger and just get more angry at yourself for that. So instead, what we do is we can kind of accept the emotion, but don't let it make our decisions for us. And if we're acting out of fear or we're acting out of anger, that's very different and a very different experience from I experience this emotion and then I kind of naturally allow it to dissipate. I get to a place of calm and then I choose what to do. And what I choose to do might very well be informed by the emotional experience that I had. I'm like, I was really angry about this thing. Now that I'm calm, I'm going to make a decision that will allow me to take care of that thing and maybe stop it from happening again, or allow myself to better deal with it in the future so that I don't get so angry. Okay, to Tanya's question.
You kind of already really well addressed this question.
Perfect.
But my question is, life can seem like this race with hurdles, and sometimes you see the biggest one in front of you, and you think when you get over that hurdle, it's going to be smooth sailing. And you get over that hurdle, and the race changes. Something happens, the rules change. And you just see a sea of hurdles in front of you. How do you keep your momentum in that situation? Or maybe it's more about just recognizing the momentum you already have.
Yeah, I like that analogy. And look, yeah, sometimes it feels like in life we come up against a hurdle, we get over it, and then the next hurdle is right there. Sometimes in life it feels like we get over the hurdle, and then there are no more hurdles because now we fell into the ocean and we're swimming, and then it feels like we finished this lap, and then we're having to, fight a gorilla, whatever. Like it feels like it's not even predictable. Like the things are just thrown at us and it's mayhem. So since we are already running late in my talk, I'll leave you with one simple answer to your question that goes a little bit further than what I've talked about, which is our practice really, if you boil it down to maybe its simplest form, it really is a practice of dealing with one thing at a time, dealing with this one breath in this moment, right? In this moment, this breath is the only thing that exists for us, and that's what allows us to let go of our thoughts and our attachments. And in this moment, when we arrive at this hurdle, the hurdles that we just went past could, of course, inform how we deal with this hurdle, but we're not like, oh man, I just did 20 hurdles and now I got to do another one. The other hurdles don't exist anymore. It is just this hurdle right in front of us. And we're also not looking forward and think, oh, I got to do this hurdle and then all those other hurdles, I just give up. Because we don't need to practice giving up. So in our physical practice, in our internal practice, really what we are trying to do and practicing is being in this present moment and dealing with whatever this is right now. And that could look like letting go of a thought. It could look like accepting what's in front of us right now. This hurdle is the only thing that I have to deal with. And the way that we keep momentum is by jumping over this hurdle. That's it. That's all you got to do. There's a great story that I tell all the time, and I'm sure you've heard it before, where I don't know for sure who this person was or what mountain they were climbing. To make it super dramatic, let's say that it was Everest, and this guy is in a crew of people that's climbing Everest, and he slips and falls down a ravine and breaks his leg. Maybe he breaks both legs to make it super dramatic. He's got 2 broken legs, and he's going to die because he's on a snowy, cold mountain, and he is very far away from camp. He's separated from everybody else. Nobody really knows where he ended up. Everyone else is just doing what they can do to survive, to just get back to base camp. And so he is immediately, of course, thinking the same thing that all of us would think, which is, I'm going to die on this mountain. I can't possibly make it all the way back down. It's impossible. I can't walk. I can barely crawl. How am I going to do this? And so he probably started to think about, I'm just going to give up and die, and that's it. But then he somehow summoned the will to go like this. I'm not worried about getting all the way to base camp. I'm worried about getting from where I am right now to that rock right there. And he just crawled and got himself over to that rock. And then he said, I don't have to worry about getting all the way to base camp. I got to worry about getting from where I am right now at this rock to that pile of snow over there. And he just crawled and got to that next thing. And you can guess where the story went because he lived to tell about it. He made it all the way to base camp, and I'm sure had frostbite and is missing toes or whatever, but survived. And And sometimes simply to survive, but certainly to thrive, this is really the mindset that we need to have, which is just, what is this thing right in front of us that we need to deal with? And by allowing ourselves to fully focus on this one thing, we give it our best shot, and we keep the momentum, we keep this empowering feeling, and we get beyond it. Surely there will be another thing. Right? We won't actually ever get to the point where there's no more hurdle until we are actually dead. So until that happens, keep crawling, keep taking that next breath, and really try to enjoy it to the fullest ability that you can, because that really is, on some level, what all of life is a succession of hurdles, and you can read that as a succession of moments and a succession of opportunities to be present. And that is it. There's nothing else to meditation, there's nothing else to life except to just be present in this moment, to respond well to whatever's in front of us, and then that's it. Be ready for the next one, but not while you're dealing with this one. Sit comfortably. We'll do a short power meditation since I got on a rant with all those great questions. Tall. Close eyes. Spine straight. Eyes upturned. Relax. Watch the breath. Let go of all thoughts, worries, and cares. Be here now.